The first and the most important thing that became clear on February 24 is that Russia has broken the international system of law and security. In the 8 years since the beginning of the Russian aggression against Ukraine in Donbass, the world has not been able to keep Moscow from escalation. And when Russia started a full-scale war against Ukraine, not all Western leaders were able to explain to their citizens why they should support the Ukrainians. And this is the second conclusion of 6 months of the war. According to experts, the findings are interrelated. Partly, Russia's war against Ukraine was the result of improperly built relations with the Kremlin.
A full-scale invasion demonstrated a complete unpreparedness for a major war. Since 2014, business relations with the Russian Federation have continued, and this was reflected in joint projects. For example, in Nord Stream, this demonstrated a complete inability to respond, because starting from 2014, it was necessary to impose tough sanctions in order to restrain the Russian Federation from the war that it has unleashed now.
The third conclusion: the West finally became convinced of the barbarity of the Russian army. Targeted shelling of civilians, atrocities in Bucha and Mariupol, torture of prisoners of war. Russia has violated all existing rules of war. Already 8 states have officially recognized Russia's actions in Ukraine as genocide. Relevant bills have been registered in the parliaments of a number of countries. Even military specialists and experts were stunned by the unprofessionalism of the Russian special services that were preparing the attack. The Kremlin simply did not understand what Ukraine was. The failure in preparing for the war was another conclusion that the West made after 6 months of the war.
Firstly, when ideologization is combined with corruption and larceny, you should expect trouble. Second, Putin wanted to see what he wanted to see. Naturally, this is what the information was adjusted to, which was far from being realistic. Third, there was no real assessment of changes in the socio-political balance. Fourth, they underestimated the Ukrainians.
The fifth conclusion was the unconditional authority of Volodymyr Zelensky, both within the country and in international politics. According to Time magazine, the president of Ukraine has become the most influential person in 2022. At the same time, the Russian myth about the inefficiency of Ukrainian state institutions was completely destroyed. And although Western media and politicians are still sometimes surprised that Ukraine as a state continues to fulfill its functions at all, it is no longer possible to deny that the country is successfully coping with the war.
Western journalists and politicians often also become victims of stereotypes, but the mass of citizens did not run away, took up arms and put up fierce resistance to the aggressor. This fact was underestimated and ignored by many people.
As a result of 6 months of resistance to Russian aggression, Ukraine proved to the whole world not only that it is not Russia, but also that it is a free, democratic and developed country that must be reckoned with. Reported by Serhiy Kulyas, Danilo Kobza, UATV News.